Scrimmage number 1 in the books, and Jared Curtis is heating things up in this quarterback race.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of the Locked On Vandy podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. And on today's show, we're going to talk about, scrimmage number 1 is in the books. We're past it now. We're rolling on with spring. The linebackers just might actually end up being the best position on the defense. They are balling out. They've got a ton of depth at that position. The safeties are right there as well, but the linebackers had a really, really nice day in this scrimmage. The offense, they responded well overall after a rough day on Thursday, but they came out and responded extremely well. All 4 quarterbacks played well and got going, and the offense really just bounced back and had a really, really nice day. But the first thing I want to talk about, and this is obviously because he is the talk of camp. He is the number 1 quarterback coming out of the 2026 class. It is the best prospect that Vanderbilt has ever signed. So is Jared Curtis the guy? We keep asking that question. We keep getting data points on why we think he is the guy. Now, this is a race. This is a quarterback race. It's a healthy race. Everybody's helping each other. So there's some good news there. But what was noticeable about Jared Curtis in this scrimmage is just all the traits you want as a quarterback: pocket presence, awareness. He's starting to get command of the offense. He's starting to make throws in the tight windows, things like that. He is developing at a nice pace, and that's gotten the attention of Clark Lea. And Clark Lea had this to say about Jared Curtis. He said, quote, "Today you saw his pocket presence at times, his escapability, his physical presence as a runner, and also the ability to put the ball in tight spaces on time and on target." He went on to say they weren't always completions today, but from his process and his standpoint, there's not a whole lot else he can do. And what I read that quote to mean is this guy is progressing at a really fast pace. This guy is showing everybody why he was the number 1 quarterback in this class. He is making those wow plays. He is making himself known. He is a physical runner. He can make throws in the tight windows. He can make throws with guys bearing down on him. Were they all completions? No. Is it ever gonna be all completions? No. But he is, in terms of decision making, growing at a rapid pace. And I've said this all along, and I'll continue to say it: if it's close, he's going to be the guy. If this race is close, if Blaze Berlowitz, Jack Elliott, or Whit Muschamp do not far and away exceed Jared Curtis's abilities, I think the job's going to go to Jared Curtis. And when you read these quotes, and I'll put this quote back on the screen for the people on the YouTube side, but when you talk about a quote that says, "Today I saw his pocket presence, his escapability, his physical presence as a runner, and his ability to put the ball in tight spaces on time and on target," that means he's making NFL level throws now. That means they might have some plans to run him, so they like him in that regard. Now, are they going to make him a runner as far as Diego Pavia level running? Probably not. Not to that volume. But when you look at what he brings as a passer, I struggle to see, and Blaze Berlowitz had a really nice day, probably his best day. Jack Elliott is, at any other situation, probably would be the lead dog. But I just think, and I've said this all along, Jared Curtis's talent is undeniable. And it's starting to become obvious at this point. When you see the quotes, you see the throws, you see the clips, and the other guys are impressive too. And I really like what the other guys have done. But Jared Curtis, I think, is starting to make a push for this starting quarterback job. I think this is the point where I wouldn't be surprised if he created a little bit of separation or if he jumped into the front of that lead. Now, from a competition standpoint, they're not gonna stagger reps. I don't think they're gonna have any sort of pecking order as far as that goes from an official capacity. Like I would be highly surprised if Clark Lea did that. But I think they know in their minds. I really do. I really think they know in their minds who they want as QB1. They watch the ball come off his hand. They watch him in live situations. It would be hard to watch him and then watch the other guys and say, I can't, I can't fathom that. Now, can the other guys do it? Yeah, absolutely. The other guys are more than capable of playing quarterback here at Vanderbilt and playing quarterback in this league. I wholeheartedly believe that. I think this is a really great quarterback room, and I want to preface everything that I'm saying by that. It's more of a situation, and I think this is where competition is great. I think you got to continue the competition. It's not done. And I think you need to bring the best out of those guys. And I think for that to happen, that will also continue to push Jared Curtis as well to make sure that your decision or your thoughts or your early impressions are correct. You have to make sure that, okay, it either validates it or it brings a new guy into the mix. And it's gonna make things interesting. But from a rep standpoint, I don't think anything's going to change. Obviously, they're all going to get their shot with the ones, so I don't think that's going to change. I think when you watch these four guys, I think you're going to, and when you watch them in the spring game, when everybody can watch them, you're going to notice that Jared Curtis looks a little different. And like I said, that is no shot at the other guys. That is him playing above his head. That is him playing above these other guys. That is talent taking over. And that's what competition is supposed to do. And I'm glad they didn't officially say anything as far as naming him. I'm glad that they are making him earn it, which I think is absolutely the right move and seemingly the obvious move. If you're a good coach, I think you make the freshman earn it, because there's other guys on this roster that are just as good. And what is that going to do for the quarterback room in the future? Well, I think you worry about that in the future when you're building through the portal and you're building through all that stuff. So that is, in like I said, you get quotes like that. You get quotes like raving about his traits. I didn't see any quotes about any other quarterbacks. Jared Curtis has been the talk of camp. Let's just be real about that. He has been the talk of camp. Now, Clark Lea also said one of the things that I also liked about him is when because the quarterbacks were live, okay, and that I like that aspect too, because this spring you want to see these guys in live situations. That's what you do. So he said the last time we went live, we held Jared out just because he's young and he's learning, and we don't want to put him in compromised position. But he also said, but every day this week, he was in Coach Beck's office asking to go live. He said, I want to go live. I want to go live. I want to go live. And Clark Lea said, I respect that. And this is a guy that's hungry. This is a guy that's confident. This is a guy that is showing you that, hey, I can handle this. Take the training wheels off. That's what he's saying, right? And the biggest thing is trying to get the plays down that comes, and this is where the help comes from. This is where I think this quarterback room is a healthy, competitive, but helpful room, because they all help each other and they're all kind of mentoring. They're all kind of mentoring Jared. So, they said biggest thing is trying to get the plays down. That comes with help from Blaze, Jack, Whit, and Coach Kirkland. All of them have been great resources for me, and it's been great to have them on my side. That's what Jared Curtis said. They interviewed Jared Curtis, and he talked about all that. So I encourage you to go watch his actual interview on YouTube. So this is going to be something where it's going to be interesting to see how the offense is constructed from here on out. You're going to see, and Clark Lea talked about that a little bit as well. And I'll probably get into that in a later time to see kind of how the offense is going to be constructed moving forward. Now, they have 6 practices left. That's going to include a scrimmage in the spring game. So really 4 practices and then the scrimmage in the spring game. But that's where you're going. That's the opportunities you're going to have moving forward to see who rolls into the summer with that, I guess, unofficial advantage. And we'll all know, and we'll all have our preconceived notions, or we'll all have our opinions on April 18th when they kick off the black and gold game. So that's it's going to be interesting. But is Jared Curtis the guy? I want to know what you think based on everything you've read, everything you've heard, everything you've seen to this point. Is he the guy? Does Blaze have a chance? Does Jack Elliott have a chance? Does Whit Muschamp have a chance? Where do you see this quarterback race? That's the main thing that I want to know. And as far as the offense overall, they had a great day. They had a great day. We will talk about that next. It's Locked On Vandy. All right, Way Day is here. And if you've been thinking about upgrading your space, this is the time to do it. We're talking about some of the best deals of the year on furniture, decor, outdoor essentials, everything you need to refresh your home. During Way Day, Wayfair is offering up to 80% off with fast and free shipping on everything, making it easy to find pieces that fit your style and your budget. Man, I could use a refresher. So I'm gonna look on Wayfair for outdoor furniture, maybe outdoor patio, outdoor porch furniture, maybe some like, I don't know how you classify it, but like chairs that I can sit out in the lawn with, and not be all up in the grass. I'm gonna be looking at all those. And Wayfair verified products are vetted by specialists, so you're getting quality. There's going to be pictures and reviews and all that for me when I'm looking through this stuff, and it's super easy to filter by size, style, and price, so you're not wasting time scrolling. So whether it's upgrading a room, adding outdoor pieces, or just finding something that ties your piece together or your space together, it makes the whole process simple from start to finish. Way Day is the sale to shop the best deals in home. We're talking up to 80% off and free shipping on everything. Head to wayfair.com April 25th through the 27th to shop Way Day. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Now, here's what we're looking at with the Everydayers Club. Get your first month of the Everydayer Club free when you use code MARCH. You'll unlock ad-free episodes and entry into our private listener group chat where I'm hanging out daily. So click the link in the show notes or go to lockedonvandy.supercast.com to claim your free month using promo code MARCH. Thank you for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. If you need a second listen on the network, Locked On SEC is the place to go. Also, thank you for making Locked On Podcast Network number one in the market. It's listeners like you that get it done, that make it number one. So talking about the first scrimmage, obviously the quarterback stood out. Jared Curtis has drawn quite the attention from everybody, including Clark Lea. When asked about him, he just couldn't help but, unload the compliments. So Jared Curtis, in my very humble opinion at this point, unless some things drastically change, like I said, and I've said this before, I'm going to say it again. If it's close, it's going to be Curtis. He's too good if it's close. Now, if one of those guys pulls away at some point, then okay, fine. Then Curtis wasn't ready. But I think reading what we're reading, it just seems inevitable. It just seems inevitable. Reading that quote, that is how you would talk about a number one prospect. That's how you would talk about your starter, perhaps. I don't know. But nonetheless, the offense had a rough day on Thursday. didn't seem like anything was going right, or very few things were going right, I should say. Not everything was going wrong. Not everything was haywire. But the offense had a better day in the scrimmage from what I gather from Clark Lea in his post-scrimmage notes. And a lot of that was quarterback play. They were good in the red zone. The tight end group especially was really good. Walter Taylor had a nice touchdown. Cole Spence had a nice touchdown. Cole Spence is having a hell of a spring camp, by the way, just so you know. And the tight end position may just be the most important position in the team, in the offense, because I think they bridge the gap between run and pass. They give whoever the new quarterback is going to be, which I think is going to be Jared Curtis, but they give that quarterback a safety net. So that's going to be important. But the most important thing for the offense as a whole was, how do you respond off of a bad day against a defense that's been really freaking good? How do you show resilience in a situation where you've been off and on, mostly off because you have a lot of new faces? How do you show progress? And this is the way you do it. In a live situation with over 100 snaps, Clark Lea feels like you won the day, and he's not somebody that's giving out free praise. He's not somebody that's going to pat you on the back just to pat you on the back and make you feel good. He's going to be honest. He's been very honest up to this point in talking about the offense and saying, hey, the defense is ahead. That's normal. The offense is learning, but they're going through the growing pains. That's been the sentiment every single practice. And practice 8 was even rough. It was rough because I think they're probably, from a coach's standpoint, they probably backed off a little bit and wanted to see how the guys would respond in those scenarios, and they didn't. Outside of like some false start penalties and things like that, procedural things that Clark Lea mentioned, the offense looked really, really good. And it was driven by the quarterbacks. Quarterbacks, all 4 of them had amazing days. They had amazing moments. They led the offense on drives. They made big throws. The offense made big plays in good situations. Like, this was something that I think drew the attention of Clark Lea, going, okay, well, maybe they're starting to turn a corner a little bit. They're playing with the physical, resilient identity, competitive identity. So I'm not shocked, but I am excited that this group does show a little bit of grit. And when they struggle, they can fight their way out of it. And it's because they have the leaders. It's because they have Cedric Alexander. It's because they have MK Young. It's because they have Cade McConnell and Junior Sherrill and Cole Spence. It's because the new faces are experienced veterans. Like Lyndon Cooper has really just ingrained himself into the Union, and he's become one of the lead dudes. Bo Johnson the same way. Bo Johnson, he comes in, he looks the part immediately. He comes in and he's balling. I mean, these guys are starting to come together. It's starting to click a little bit. So I over the next few practices, the next scrimmage should be really interesting. The spring game should be really interesting because you're going to get a healthy dose of the defense making plays and then the offense turning around and making plays as well. And you're going to get a nice little back and forth trade-off chess match type situation. So I'm really excited to see that. And I'm wondering if the quarterbacks are going to be live in the spring game. I am a little curious on that. So that being said, this offense is going to rely heavily on the run. They know that, and they want to establish a healthy dose of tailback run. James L. Lassiter is somebody that's going to be in the mix. Evan Hampton is going to be somebody that's going to be in the mix outside of the obvious 2 in the run game. I think those are the next 2 guys that are battling. Junior Sherrill is somebody that's he's going to be an unequivocal leader on this offense. And in that receiver room, Cole Adams is going to be a special player. And I think Ja'Cory Thomas is starting, once the light bulb's flickering for him right now. He's had some struggle. He's had a little bit of struggle, but he's starting to pick it up a little bit too, from what I'm hearing. And this is going to be an explosive wide receiver room. They're all pushing each other. That's what I like. The competition on this team, because you have a deep roster. I think that's the biggest thing is you have a deep roster. So there's a lot of competition, especially on the offensive side of the ball. You have some offensive linemen that are competing for spots. Like, not every spot is taken. I think you have Cade McConnell, Lyndon Cooper, and Bo Johnson. I think those are the only 3 spots that I feel like are spoken for. The other 2 spots is your strong guard and your strong tackle, unless they decide to move Bo Johnson over to strong tackle and put whoever in the quick tackle spot, which I'm not sure that's going to happen. But I think also you have Orion Irving, who's somebody that I wasn't sure how he was going to fit into the mix. Gunnar Givens, Clinton Azubuike. I think the high school guys are really starting to make some push too, and they're really providing some really good reps as well. So I'm excited for that. And I think you have a full starting unit of high school guys, I believe, if I remember correctly. So that's good. Primus, I think, is going to be a special dude from the high school group. Trip Skews is somebody I'm excited about. Mitchell and Michael Smith are guys that I'm excited about on that offensive line. So there's some names out there, and there's some competition happening. When you build your roster as deep as it is at all positions, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get great competition. And speaking of great competition, on the defensive side of the ball, you have some guys that are balling out across the board. The linebackers specifically are impressing. They're impressing with their depth and their playmaking ability. We'll talk about that next. It's Locked On Vandy. We'll wrap up the show. Hey, TurboTax, it's tax season. But for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes, well, it's a lot. Trying to book an appointment that's not the most convenient, sitting in a waiting room with a stack of papers, emailing back and forth and wondering if they really get your situation. But this year, you're getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your documents get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar you deserve while you get real-time notifications as you go about your day. It's the relief of walking in and meeting a real person and walking out knowing your taxes are being handled right. So head to TurboTax.com/local to find a store near you and book your appointment. All right, thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day at Locked On Vandy if you want to follow along at home. Thank you for making Locked On number 1. We're wrapping up the show here talking a little defense because I feel like in the last few episodes I haven't given the defense a lot of love because I feel like they haven't needed it because they're just crushing it. Let's just be honest about it. They're crushing it. They're killing it, right? And it's a deep group, man. And that's something that's exciting as well. I mean, you look at this defense, you look at how they're going, you look at the linebacking core especially, and it is, let's just say, impressive. Because we know what we get with Nick Rinaldi. We know what we get with Bryan Longwell. We know what we're getting with Bryce Cowan. And there's 2 guys in this linebacking core that are making a push. You're going to have 5 great linebackers, possibly a 6th, that is just completely balling out. Jamison Curtis and Austin Howard, 2 guys that when they signed with Vanderbilt, I was still fresh doing the show, but when they signed with Vanderbilt, I knew with their skill set and their explosiveness that these 2 guys would be special. And they're starting to show that. They did it on special teams last year. They were a major portion. I remember specifically noticing them on kickoff coverage, which it's hard to notice guys on special teams. Why? Because special teams is honestly the play that everyone just they go to the fridge, or if they need to go pee or go get a Coke from the concession stand if you're at the game or if you're watching it on TV. That's when you're scrolling your phone. That's when you're in the bathroom or in the fridge or in the pantry making your snack bowl and getting your drink or whatever. You miss special teams. And those guys were running down on kickoff coverage, which they got a lot of reps at kickoff coverage last year because this offense was explosive. It's going to be explosive again next year. But these 2 guys got a lot of great reps on kickoff coverage especially, and that's where I noticed them. I'm sure they were I'm sure they were in other units. I'm sure they were in other aspects of the game. But I noticed them most on kickoff coverage. And these two guys would run down. I mean, they would just down the field. Even on a touchback. You got and Howard wore number 40. And that dude was freaking a missile down the field. I remember specifically, I was at the game with my friend Matt Perkins. And we were like second row on like the 20-yard line, I think. Right on the Huber Center side, or on the end where the Huber Center is. We were on like that second to last section before you get into the end zone, and then you go and it goes around. And I remember specifically going, "Oh my God, like this dude is huge, and he's running down the field on kickoff coverage, man." That return guy, if he got a hold of that return guy, holy cow. But both Curtis and Howard are the same way. They're explosive, and they're going to get some great time from a linebacking perspective. This group is going to be even more athletic than it was last year, which I think when you look at some of the problems with Vanderbilt's defense a year ago, I think you had some issues from a linebacking perspective, not necessarily with talent, but I think consistency was something that I think left a little bit more that could be desired. Because outside of Longwell, outside of Patterson and Rinaldi, I think you had a group that really just couldn't quite make every play consistently. And so you didn't really see them out there as much. So their impact from a linebacking perspective was not there. And I think Langston Patterson, I don't know that his strong suit is covering in the pass game. I don't know. Like, I just, it was one of those scenarios where I don't think they were as consistently as good as they needed to be. They were great against the run. In the passing game, I'm not sure where it went. I think this group's going to be more athletic, which translates to better pass coverage, better pass rush. Like, if they're doing away with the star position and making that an extra linebacker in most base packages, imagine having Bryce Cowan coming off the edge. Imagine you personnel it and have Nick Rinaldi out there. Like, I'm sure they're having different options over there. Imagine having one of those two guys coming off the edge. I mean, Bryce Cowan is huge. He's tall, long, he has that hair that flies out of the back of his helmet and just he's there to knock out the quarterback. And I'm excited to see what they do with that position from a base standpoint. I know in some situations that will probably be CJ Hurd. That may be CJ Hurd. That could be Jalen Ruth. That could be a number of guys based on the situation. But in base formations, like when they throw their base defense out there, right now it's going to be Bryce Cowan. But that could change. Bryce Cowan, I think, fits out there. I think he's I think that suits him well. Like having that guy on the edge playing the C and D gap. You can't convince me there's not many better options there that could play those gaps. I mean, CJ Jackson, I guess, is another guy that probably will play on the other side with this defense. But to me, when you're thinking about the construction of this defense, I think it all starts with the linebackers, because they're gonna make plays that the defensive linemen, when they get engulfed in a double team or whatever the case may be, I think the linebackers are going to be good enough, athletic enough, physical enough to correct and make those plays. So you can have a more aggressive defensive line. You could have tighter coverage on the outside, and you're going to make those plays because of the linebacking core. I think last year the defensive linemen were a little more cautious because of the linebackers, and they weren't necessarily on the same page all the time. I think that didn't help. Some of that is Steve Gregory still being relatively new at calling plays, which there's some growing pains there as well as a coordinator on either side. So you kind of had to deal with that some too. But I think overall that I feel like the operation is going to be better. You read about these things, you see the clips, you see what's happening. It's going to be a really, really nice group, and I'm excited about the potential there from a linebacking perspective. But nonetheless, that's where I'm going to leave you guys. Scrimmage number 1 in the books. A lot of great things coming off of this scrimmage, but there's still a lot more to talk about, and we will do so until the next practice. Also, baseball is in full swing. We'll talk about that. The basketball transfer portal is going to open up on Tuesday, so that'll be interesting. I believe that the UNC job has closed. I think they hired I want to say I read somewhere they hired Scott Drew. So Mark Byington is safe. I mean, he signed a long-term extension, so I don't think he was going anywhere anyway. But nonetheless, he's safe now. But that being said, we're going to continue to talk all of that as we plow forward here on the Locked On Vandy podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Big announcement. You can find you can start to find, which you can't find it yet because I haven't really written anything yet. But I will be writing for Vandy 247. Chris Lee contacted me and asked me if I could write some things. So I will be writing some things, so you can check me out over there some, as well as right here on Locked On Vandy. So that's a big important announcement that I had. So until next time, anchor down. I'm really excited about the Vandy 247 thing as well. That adds another layer of whatever you wanted to add to the show. I'm excited about it. Until next time, anchor down. Peace.